I forget how we start this podcast. Oh, now I remember. Welcome to Rebooty and the Beast. I'm Ed Burke. It's a podcast in 2 parts.
I'm Matt Molinaro, and in the first episode we review an original piece of media, and in the subsequent episodes we discuss the reboots, and this is part 3, tre, if you will. You don't have to, of the Karate Kid series we've been doing. So if you've been following along, we've done the original Karate Kid from, 1984?
1984, then we did 1994, and now we're in 2010.
Yeah, so we've really done a jumper.
Yeah, it's 3 different decades of the Karate Kid.
Yeah, and I'm sure you've heard this too, but there's one slated to come out next year.
Oh my god. Do we know who's starring in it or anything about it?
Sorry, I was taking a sip of my coffee. I do, actually. So this is kind of interesting to me, and I'm wondering if you have any idea how they're going to do this.
Okay.
So, from what I understand, I've not watched Cobra Kai yet, but I know we're going to watch it for the next episode.
Yes.
But I have heard that this Karate Kid that we're doing for this episode, the 2010 with Jaden Smith and Jackie Chan, was not considered part of the Karate Kid universe as far as Cobra Kai was concerned, because it was, I think, made by different people and didn't involve Mr. Miyagi.
Okay.
But I read that for the upcoming Karate Kid, that Jackie Chan is reprising his role from this movie, and Ralph Macchio is reprising his role from the Karate Kid series that he's done, all the way into Cobra Kai.
Okay.
And they're both going to be acting as, I don't know, they're going to be acting as their own roles.
Okay.
So how are both of them going to exist in the same universe if the movies are not in the same universe, is my question.
Yeah.
But the other thing is the main protagonist, I did see they have someone for it. His name is, I have it written down. Ben Wang. And I looked him up. I've not seen him in anything before, but he's a cutie. So he is, look, he was in Mean Girls, it says. Who was he in Mean Girls?
Oh, the musical one?
I'm going to look it up. I'm going to check right now. That was the little blurb here I got from Google. So, yeah, who was he? Jacob?
Let's see. Ben Wang in Mean Girls was Jacob Zhang, but I don't even remember that character.
Yeah, he must have not been a main... I mean, did anyone say Jacob in Mean Girls? So,
maybe.
that just tells you that we have no idea who he is. So, but hey... so that's all I know. I don't know too much more about it. I didn't look into it, but when that comes out, you better believe we'll be jumping back in.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay.
We'll see. By the way, can I ask you?
No.
I'm going to. Yeah. I have always liked Jackie Chan.
Okay. I have something to say.
I have something to say too.
Okay. So
do you want to start?
I'll start. So I think in the last episode, I might have said something like Jackie Chan sucks or something akin to that, which I did a little more research since then, because I was like, well, he's in this movie, and if I'm going to say anything like that, I need to verify that and make sure that what I'm saying is actually accurate. And so I had been under the impression that Jackie Chan had a daughter that he basically disinherited and disowned because she is a lesbian. Mm-hmm. And so that kind of circulated all over the internet because of it, another movie promotion thing where it was meant to be his daughter watching his greatest hits with him kind of thing. Mm-hmm, and somebody tweeted that he's actually a terrible father because he abandoned his daughter, et cetera, or disowned her because she's a lesbian. And it turns out that that's not really accurate, that she is the child of an affair he had, and he's never had any relationship with her. And so this whole narrative of he disowned her because she's queer is not true. And so I would like to retract from everything I've read. I would like to retract my Jackie Chan sucks statement, because I don't think it's actually accurate.
Yeah, are we the same person?
Is that exactly what you experienced as well?
Yes, okay. When we did an episode way back in the day of either Rip from the Headlines or Cool Story, Jackie Chan came up and we had this exact discussion about him where we had heard that he had done this to his daughter. And I remember talking about it with you, and that's why I was like, I've always had this impression of him since then, like, oh, what a bummer, because I've always liked Jackie Chan.
Yeah, same.
And I've even liked the cartoon growing up. So I was...
Jackie Chan had a cartoon?
Yeah, it was called Jackie Chan Adventures. It was a cartoon on like Channel 11, WB11 for my late teenage years. I was probably too old to be watching at the time, which I retract now because like everyone watches cartoons now. But anyway, I did the same thing. I did research on it the past week, and I found the same thing and was like relieved.
Yeah.
So I also retract any statements I've made on previous podcasts about him, and I'm so relieved to find out it's not true.
Yeah.
I read that even his daughter's mom was like, she should stop doing this. She should stop doing this.
Because agreed.
Anyway, so
okay.
That makes me feel a lot better going into this movie.
Yes, same.
Are you still there? Oh, there you go.
I'm still here. I thought you were going to keep saying something, so I paused. But yeah, so this is the 2010 Karate Kid starring Jaden Smith and Jackie Chan. Do you have the little summary of it?
I did, but I lost it to look up Ben Wang, so let me go back.
Okay.
Okay. Come on, 2010. Come on, 2010. Okay, I'm back. Okay. So, from IMDb, the little blurb for Karate Kid 2010 is, work causes a single mother to move to China with her young son. In his new home, the boy embraces kung fu, taught to him by a master.
All right. I'm glad that in the little summary they say why they moved to China, because they literally never explain that in the movie.
Never.
Right?
Okay. Okay. So the movie starts out and they're very heavy-handed in like the opening credits scene, which by the way reads so like a gum commercial. Even the song I think is from a gum commercial. I think it was like that. Like,
I thought it was Chris Brown.
I think it was, but I think it was like featured in a gum commercial because I don't think Chris Brown's work is good for anything else. And I was like, oh, yikes. This is going to be an interesting movie. I wonder how this is going to go. But in the opening credits, they have like all these signs that say like foreclosure, store closing on like every friggin' window. So I thought they were going to
notice that.
Well, I mean, blink and you miss it. I thought they were going to do some sort of thing about like they had a store that closed or something and they had to get a job. But I mean, true to form in the original Karate Kid, she moves to California for a job and then she's mysteriously working at a Chinese food restaurant.
Yeah.
So, hey.
So the funny thing about this movie to me was I'm just going to say the version that I watched, which I won't say how I watched, but the version that I watched did not have subtitles, and a decent, probably like 20% of this movie is in Mandarin. Maybe 10%. But there's a lot of points where I was like, I have no idea what is being said right now. But the good news is, for me, we just recently watched the original Karate Kid, and I would describe this as a relatively one-for-one reboot. So I was like, oh, this is the scene where this is happening. This is the scene where this is happening. Because it pretty much maps directly onto the original Karate Kid.
I originally did not have subtitles on, and then I turned them on after I watched a scene. I was okay without subtitles for most of the movie because I had the same situation. And then once they got to like the dojo scene and they were speaking in Mandarin for a while, I was
time.
like, I think I have subtitles on for this movie available. So I turned them on and then I rewound it. So I could tell you there's some context changes, but there's not much difference plot-wise, which, I mean, by the end of the movie, you can deduce not much has changed.
Yes, totally. Yeah, I would say that dojo scene was the part where I was like, oh, I really, this is extended Mandarin and I don't know what's happening, but pretty one for one. So
yeah,
easy to follow the plot line even if you don't have subtitles.
Yeah, and the movie, I just hate when movies are so distrusting of their audience to figure things out that they have to like literally spell it out for you. For example, in the opening scenes, as we're seeing, like, where do they live? Chicago?
Detroit.
Detroit, thank you. They're in Detroit, you see that they're living there, whatever, and then you see that they're showing like a growth chart for Jaden Smith's character. who plays...
The worst.
What's that?
The worst. I hate it. I hated this part.
Oh, good. I'm glad you already know where I'm going. They're showing a growth chart. And there's like panning up. So you can see this year old. So I'm like, oh, they're showing us how old he is, you know? Clever, I thought. But no. They can't just like let things happen in a movie through dialogue and anything, context. There's literally little growth lines for 6 years old, 4 years old. And then there's a growth line for when Daddy died.
Yep, Daddy died. I was just like, honestly, who would mark that on a board? Like, come on. It was very ham-fisted to me. Like, and it didn't even need... And to be honest, like, the fact that his father died factors in 0% for the rest of the movie. So it could have just been single mom raising her son, and that would have been fine. Right. That was not necessary.
When Daddy... Like, you know what? I wonder how tall I was this day.
Honestly.
What a weird thing. It's not on the calendar. It's on the growth chart. I want to look at this every day. For the rest of my life. Giggles. Giggly. And then they moved to China for some unknown reason. It's by the way, it's Jaden Smith playing the main character, Dre Parker, and his mom is, I love this actress, Taraji P. Henson.
Taraji, yeah.
Who, okay, here's my notes on these two characters and their acting.
Okay. First
of all, they are in different movies.
Yes.
Totally different movies. Taraji P. Henson is in a movie where she's in the correct movie, I think.
Oh, really? Okay. All right.
Jaden Smith. Well, maybe neither of them are in the correct movie, but she's more on. Jaden Smith, I don't know how he is anymore as an actor. I know this was 2010. He has the charisma and acting ability in this movie of a tumbleweed.
Matt, I could not disagree with you more. I think Jaden Smith had a lot of charisma in this movie, and I think Taraji P. Henson was in the wrong movie.
Oh? You think Jaden Smith had a lot of charisma in this movie?
I do. I think he was charming. That is so funny.
Well, Taraji P. Henson, I think she thought she was in like a buddy comedy.
Yeah, she was in kind of like sitcom level acting, and it just didn't fit with the movie overall. Although she did, by the end, she was fine.
Yeah,
but in the beginning, it was a lot.
It felt like these people were not related. This is not a mom to this child. This mother did not raise this boy.
It's very strange.
There's no connection between them at all. It almost feels like a mean, like an acrimonious relationship, like a babysitter.
Yeah. Also, sometimes the dialogue that was written for Jaden Smith was very weird. Like, she says some line to him, like, where she describes him in some way where she's like, oh, you're something, something, something. And he says, you could say that. And I was like, what 12-year-old says you could say that? That is not... I hate when you can tell. I mean, obviously, like, writers for movies are not 12-year-olds, but I hate when it's like so evidently a phrase that a child would never say.
Like Jodie Foster in Freaky Friday.
Yes. Oh my God.
Yeah, I agree. A lot of the dialogue was changed, but I
also have to wait. I have to say something. So when they get to China, they get to their apartment. It's just like the original Karate Kid, where it's like they're moving in, and like the kid actor runs into like the neighborhood boy who also lives at the apartment complex, who is like, I'm Harry, and they're like, let's hang out at the park or whatever. And then he vanishes from the movie entirely.
And I was going to say, this movie really needed to carry everything over it, including vanishing children.
Vanishing children, yes, because he's never seen again.
He's never seen again. We also get like a weird friend before he moves that gives him a skateboard for no reason that has no significance through the entire movie.
The skateboard or the friend, correct.
Or the friend. And this, are we going to talk about this actor? Or do you think he was good too?
Go ahead. What's that?
Do you think Harry was a good actor as well?
No, I do not.
Harry was I'm not even going to apologize for this. I've never seen a worse child actor, I think, maybe ever.
You know the meme of the kid with like the bowl cut who's like looking up amazingly at like a drone flying above him? You know that meme?
Yes.
That's exactly his acting caliber.
This is how he introduces himself. I'm Harry.
Also,
every piece of dialogue is so bad and so fast.
Yeah. Yeah.
The dialogue between these characters, Jaden, his mom, and Harry, happened so fast that it felt like the opening scene of The Room, where they're like, "Hi," or that scene of The Room in the store. "Hi, doggy."
Oh God, I forgot
I'm actually
about
convinced that Harry might be a descendant of Johnny Wiseau.
that. Maybe.
I mean, I feel it.
Can we talk about the fact that, like, on this first day, this is like they've been in China for like 45 minutes, and his mom says, "You can't go to sleep yet because then we won't sleep tonight, and you have school tomorrow." And my first thought was like, how irresponsible to fly a child to China and then make them go to school the next day.
Of child abuse.
I mean, come on.
Child
That
abuse.
child
Are
needs
you out
like
of your
several
mind?
days to adjust to the time zone. What are you doing?
We're going to fly to China for no reason. I don't even know why. And then you're going to go to school the next day. Are you
I would
nuts? Are you nuts? And by the way, speaking of weird dialogue, there's this moment when he's like, "Mom, I can't do it. I have airplane." Well, I'll do it how Jaden Smith speaks. "Mom, I can't do it. I have
How dare
airplane
you."
lag." And then she goes, "Oh, and like falls against the wall like she's like overcome with glee at this comment. It's not
Yes.
airplane lag, it's jet lag. What is this? What It's like a 5-minute moment of the movie. By the way, this movie is 2 hours and 15 minutes long.
It is a solid 45 minutes too long. So, much like the original, something is broken. This time it's the hot water. So she tells him to go find the maintenance man, who, of course, is Jackie Chan, whose character's name is Mr. Han.
Mm-hmm.
And I liked the little homages to the original movie. Like, he's eating with chopsticks and there's a fly and you think he's going to, like, catch the fly with the chopsticks. But, like, just as it looks like he's about to catch it with the chopsticks, he hits it with the fly swatter instead.
Yeah, I like that.
So I just thought
too.
that was kind of a fun nod to the original movie.
Same. I agree.
So he goes to the park to meet Harry. While he's there, he sees a girl that he thinks is cute who's like practicing her violin.
Oh my god.
Now, I will say, for actors that had no charisma, I think she also had very little charisma in the movie.
Who did?
The actor
the girl
who plays Mei Ying.
Oh. What movie was she in? An
I
animated
have no
one?
idea.
Was she an animated character for children? Because she barely spoke.
Yes.
A lot of longing, a lot of look. She was like a commercial, a girl in a commercial. Like,
Yes.
giving a lot of like gleeful, like blank-eyed smiles and like being delighted by like literally nothing at all the time, and constantly blushing at something but nothing, constantly overly concerned. Like every reaction was like a frame of a cartoon comic.
Yes. It was
Terrible.
really weird.
All the children. I'm sorry.
All of the, yeah. I will say, okay, as toward the end of this movie, I was kind of thinking, I was trying to reflect on like, do I like this? Do I not like this? And whenever I think that, I also try to remind myself, like, am I the audience that this movie was for?
True.
And I genuinely think that this movie was for children in the 8 to 15-year-old age range.
I agree, but I disagree, because I think it was also for those of us who've seen the original Karate Kid and grew up with it and would be excited to see a reboot with Jackie Chan in it.
Okay, that's fair, yeah.
But these parts, and I will say Jaden Smith, I did find him better by the end of the movie.
Okay.
Better, but it was
Still
a
not
rough road.
I just feel like my whole thing with this entire movie was it felt like the kids needed to be like a solid 3 to 4 years older than they were. Like they just felt too young for this movie.
I agree. I thought the bully was okay. Well, we haven't even gotten to him, but I thought, so basically they're on the playground or whatever at school, and he sees this girl, Mei Ying, and they giggle and smile at each other like a Mentos commercial. And it makes no sense that he just sits there. It looks like he literally sits at the park with his friend and stares at her all day, inches away from her. And she just sits there with her violin in her hand the whole time. And then some bullies come up. You don't really know what their relation is. Like, it's this guy Cheng and his friends.
Yes.
You don't know how they're related to anything. They come over and they're like bullying her or him. I forget how it happens, but
I think they're bullying him because he's talking to her.
oh right, because he's like dancing at her.
Yes, he's dancing the robot for her. Which, listen, Jaden Smith has some good dance moves in this movie, so good for him.
Yeah, but that being good at dance moves for a scene that doesn't even need to be in the movie does not a casting decision make.
Yes, that's fair.
Oh yeah, so the bullies are fighting him. I thought the lead bully, Cheng, he was pretty good at giving that bully face, very just like Johnny.
Yes, I will say something that really bothered me about this movie that they do probably like 5 different times that is never addressed is everyone wants to touch his hair and touch his mom's hair because they have like black textured hair.
Yes.
And they do it as like this like, oh, it's exotic in China thing, but they never address like they're both Jaden Smith and Taraji P. Henson are clearly uncomfortable when this is happening.
Yes.
But they never address it, which I just think is like, why did you put that in the movie to never address it? Because it just feels like a sort of like they're fine with it thing. I did not like that.
I hated it. Yeah. It felt like causing an unnecessary wound.
Agreed.
Yeah, I hated it.
So he gets his ass kicked by the bullies. The next day he's in school in the lunchroom feeling alone. He doesn't know how to use chopsticks. She comes up and just touches his hair again unprompted. And my note says, boy, I hope they address this because this is the second time in 5 minutes that they just are like touching his hair. But nope, they never do.
No, they just triple down.
Yeah. And then when he gets home from school that day, unlike the original Karate Kid where he's practicing to magazines, this time Jaden Smith is practicing karate to the TV. And Mr. Han shows up and kind of like sees him. There was so much "hya" noise happening in this scene. It went on for like 10 minutes.
Oh my God.
While Jackie Chan just stares at him.
I want to see the script, the original script, and I want to see how many times "hya" was written down.
Yeah. 45? 50?
76.
Oh, man.
I loved Jackie Chan in this movie, by the way.
Yeah, he was good.
He was like the high point for me.
Yeah. So at school, he's like avoiding Chang and the other bullies. He hears Mei Ying practicing violin, and we learn that she has an audition coming up for the Beijing Academy of Music. And at this point, Chang shows up and again grabs his hair and starts touching it and warns him to stay away from, quote, all of us. And I think meaning like Mei Ying, because I think maybe we're meant to either this is like a movie about racial intolerance, or this is a movie where Chang has a crush on Mei Ying, but they never make that clear.
Yeah, they never make it clear. She says they're not like dating or anything. She's like, ew, no, he's like friends with my mom's. I forget how they know each other, but they're like friendly with each other. But she hates him, and he doesn't seem interested in her. But he just seems like he hates Jaden.
Yeah, for reasons that are not clear to us,
and that none of them would make sense by the end of the movie anyway.
Yeah. So we get a similar, like, he's out with his mom, they're sort of shopping, and he stumbles upon a large field of students practicing kung fu. And we get the sort of like, he goes into the dojo and is like excited and interested. And then he suddenly sees Cheng among the students and is like, oh man. And like Ralph Macchio immediately kind of leaves and is like, not excited about that. And then when he comes out, there's like a bunch of kids touching his mom's hair.
All over her.
All over her, several of them with their hands in her hair. And then this is kind of like, you know, he has this meltdown of like, I don't like it here. I just want to go home. Mr. Han overhears this. And so eventually we're going to get kind of the introduction of Mr. Han teaching him karate or kung fu in this movie.
Yeah. And I felt like the scene where he has his little meltdown was like, okay. I was like, all right. I was like, okay. I thought it was better acting than he's done the whole movie, but I was like,
okay.
It felt disproportionate to the feeling because he's been so ficus plant acting the whole movie, and then all of a sudden he's having like a nuclear meltdown unprompted.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because everyone's touching his mom's hair at the time and he's triggered and
maybe
they didn't explain it.
So he is like on his way home again and has to like avoid Chang and his gang. and decides to throw a bucket of sludge water on Chang.
Yeah.
And
Great.
I'm like, girl, like, you're trying to avoid these bullies and your solution is to throw sludge water on them? Like, I don't think that's going to help. But of course, like, a chase ensues. It's basically the scene in the movie where Ralph Macchio gets him wet at the Halloween party with the hose.
Yeah, it just makes way less sense because the party at the hose felt like fun mannered sort of, and like the guy was like rolling a joint at school while he was doing it, and you'd already like beat the shit out of him like multiple times.
Yeah,
this one feels like he seeked him out to do something to him, to antagonize him.
Yes,
but hey,
I
whatever.
will say, then so a chase ensues with Chang and his bullies, the Chang gang, and I will say this whole chase scene, I would say all of the martial arts and like sort of the physical choreo in this movie felt like a significant step up from both the original and the next Karate Kid.
100%.
Like really, really good. Like it seems apparent to me that they got actual martial artists to film the movie. Like Chang seemed like an actual martial artist. All of the other kids and stunt choreos seemed like very skilled. Like there was times where people were doing such dramatic athleticism that it almost felt like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, sort of like,
yes,
can people jump that high? Like, what is happening?
For real. I couldn't agree with you more. I was really, really impressed. Even just like the way it was all shot was so beautiful. It was like watching dance almost in a way. Do you know what I mean? Like
Agreed.
Where you can't stop watching the way the bodies are moving.
And when Mr. Han shows up to save Jaden Smith from getting beaten up by the bullies, Mr. Han, I mean, he doesn't directly like punch children in the face, but this is another moment where I was like, see, I just think they need to be like 4 years older than they are, because having a grown man beating up like 5 12-year-olds just felt weird. But it was still very well choreographed.
It felt weird. It was really well choreographed. But I wrote down like Jackie Chan is just like fighting kids. And
right
afterwards, I know that he says to him, or Jaden Smith, or Dre says to him, "Oh wow, Mr. Han, like you like defended me without even hitting any of them. They were just like hitting each other." And I guess if I watched it back, maybe that's what happened. Maybe he used like a lot of like diversionary techniques and like moving people's energy from one place to the next, but it did not feel like that.
Well, so from my memory of Jackie Chan movies from when I was a kid, that is always something that felt like his style of fighting, where he would always block and move other people, and then he would, as the other bad guys were attacking, he would use their strikes to hit the other opponents. Yeah. And so it did feel like I think that is one of the ways they got around the fact that he was beating up 12-year-olds.
Exactly.
He didn't really hit them. He would block and shift them, and they would hit each other, which I don't know that that's a whole lot better, but I mean, I guess. So.
Yeah, and I mean, the kids all did have the direction to have that little scowl on their face the whole movie, so it does help. It makes them look less like children and more like little gargoyles.
Yes.
Can we talk about this next scene?
Is it the fire healing scene?
Oh yeah, where he lights them on fire?
Yeah, I was very confused. I don't know if that's like I thought I recognized cupping. I think that some cupping might have been happening, but I was very like, is this a thing that people do where they have like green fire that they heal with? I've never seen that before. Yeah,
Jackie Chan is like a fire healer randomly. He's got like little glass cupping cups that you see like it when people do those cupping techniques, but they're just like a couple of cups, and he has green fire that he lights from this strange rock, which I'm sure everyone else is screaming at the speakers right now. I know what that is, but to me it's a strange white rock that he gets green fire out of. He always just has it on him, by the way, we'll find out, with tweezers and a blowtorch. And then he can like control the fire on his hands, and then he like literally sets this kid's chest on fire. Yeah, I know. It was something that I've never seen before, but maybe it's real. I don't know. I mean, he called it some sort of ancient healing technique, and he had a word for it. Mr. Miyagi, healed a bird.
Yeah, true. I know. I was kind of like, well, maybe this is like a form of Chinese medicine that I'm not familiar with, but it did feel fantastical in a way that Mr. Miyagi's also felt fantastical. So I was like, okay.
Yeah, it was a little bit more. I suspended my disbelief, no problem, because at the end of the day, if it is magic, I love magic.
Yeah. So Dre tells him that he wants to learn karate to kick somebody's ass, and much like Mr. Miyagi, Mr. Han says like the best fights are fights avoided, and he says there are no bad students, there are only bad teachers. And Jaden Smith is like, well, I guess we'll just stroll into school and tell their teacher, and Mr. Han is like, good idea. So then we get the same sort of scene where they walk into the dojo and the senseis essentially confront each other. And this is probably the most extended scene in Mandarin in the movie.
Yes.
So I'm not 100% sure what was said during this scene, but it felt very similar, where the kind of end result is that Dre will fight in the tournament against the other sensei's students, namely Chang.
Yeah.
But was there a context here that I missed?
This is when I started putting the subtitles on and started watching, and there was not much. It's just like, they show up, he's telling the kids who are fighting, like most of the subtitles are just about like having no mercy on each other. That's like his big line he keeps repeating, like no mercy, have no mercy, like. And even when the kids like don't want to do it, he tells them to do it, instead of saying like take him out. Yeah. Or take her down, it's no mercy. And then there's some context about like being a man and stuff like that. And then he's like, oh look, that's the guy that beat me up the other day, and like literally the rest is like word for word, including like, we're gonna go fight at the tournament, give him 2 weeks or give him some time and don't fight him. It felt like a long time though. I forget how long he gave him, but it felt like a long time.
It didn't feel time specific in this movie, which I think helps the believability factor. Yeah. Because it wasn't like 2 weeks like in the next Karate Kid, and it wasn't like 2 months like in the original Karate Kid. It didn't feel like it. It legitimately felt like half a year, maybe.
Yeah. One thing still I noticed in the subtitles for the Karate Master guy.
Okay.
Whenever he refers to Jaden Smith, he calls him, and I don't like this at all, he calls him Thing.
Oh, I don't like that either.
Yeah. So that's probably the only thing you really missed.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so they go to Mr. Han's house, and he's like, all right, he'll teach me how to fight. And much like Mr. Miyagi, instead of directly going into kung fu moves, he instead tells him to like drop the jacket, pick up the jacket, put the jacket on, hang it up, pick it up, put it on, drop it over and over and over. Which I was like, okay, this is going to be the wax on, wax off thing, of course. So we get a few scenes where that's happening. He goes on a date with Mei Ying at, I think, what they call the Shadow Festival. Does that sound right?
It was some sort of festival that was for Valentine's Day.
Oh, okay. And they have kind of like a cute little cutesy moment, and they pinky swear that he'll be at her audition for the Beijing School of Music if she comes to his tournament. And then I think we kind of transition into the jacket on, drop the jacket, etc. stuff kind of directly translating into kung fu moves after quite a while.
Yeah, they have the whole like, cutesy scene at the park. And I will say the one thing I want to say about the festival is that little love story they showed with the her favorite
Shadow
legend.
Puppets. Yeah.
I thought that was so well done. I love that art style. It was so cute. Whoever did that, I was cute. Like, I'm glad you got the opportunity to show what you could do on camera, because that was so well done. But yeah, and then we just transition basically into him learning the what's going on with his jacket thing. Which, I mean, come on, you gotta have figured it out by now. But he tells him, it's more than. Oh, this is when he has him add on have a nice attitude face with it, and he tells him kung fu lives in how we treat people and not just how we are. And then he teaches him about chi.
Is this up at the top of the mountain?
What's that?
Is this the scene up at the top of the mountain, you mean?
No, this is where he tells him like the concept of chi, and then they're gonna go train at this like place, which I didn't really understand how he got permission to go with him to this like temple with his. I guess they don't really explain that in the movie too. His mom is so uninvolved in the original movie.
Yeah, true. But they climb a mountain, and at the top of the mountain, first we see him like kind of observing people practicing different martial arts or techniques.
It's like
on
Avatar.
the road up to the mountain.
It's literally like the air temple in Avatar.
It does feel like that, yeah. There's a woman who's like snake charming in like the crane pose, which is a lot.
It's very important.
It becomes very important later in the movie.
Yes, because he's randomly walking through the air temple of Avatar where people are doing bizarre forms of training in every single corner he could find. Like, literally any corner he looks in, someone's like hanging from the ceiling, like breaking bricks or shooting books off of their shoulder in an alleyway, whatever. And then he looks out the window, and of course, on a cliff out the window, there's a lady doing like a serpentine motion with her body and her head, and there's a very poorly rendered snake.
Yes,
in front of her doing the same thing. But like, it's funny because when I saw that, I was like, oh, they didn't line this up correctly because it looks like she's moving before the snake moves, but shortly after we'll find out that that's actually what's happening. The snake is following her.
Yes.
But before we find that out, Jaden and Jackie are drinking magic water from a really ugly bowl with a yin yang sign in it. I'm sure there's more significance to this, but all it is magic water from an ugly bowl.
Yeah, they literally refer to it as magical kung fu water. And
I thought it was gonna be like a nod, like later on he's gonna be like, that was just regular water from like the sink, LOL. But no, it's magical kung fu water. And this is when we find out that the snake charming thing is happening, and it's not snake charming, it's like mind control. Jaden Smith thinks.
And he tries to snake charm his mom while they're at lunch, and she says, "Stop looking like that. You look crazy."
I like that.
I did like that too. We get more training montages.
A lot, which I liked.
A lot. Yes.
They were really well done. I think
the
movie could have been shorter, but I think other things could have even been cut out besides some of these because I actually really liked these.
I agreed. He and Mei Ying go on a date where they go do Dance Dance Revolution, but the way that they do Dance Dance Revolution, like they would have lost the game.
100%.
Like they were just, it bothered me that it had nothing to do with the actual game. They were just dancing for each other, and it was like, good job on the dance machine.
You're hot.
He danced to Apple Bottom Jeans, and then she dances to Poker Face. And I was like, oh God, I feel so old that these are like in a movie from 14 years ago.
Right. And again, it made no sense. They both played DDR, and neither of their feet barely even touched a pad. They stood in between the 2 foot pads when they did these dances.
Yes.
Turned backwards towards the other character, not the screen. And they got excellent scores.
Yes.
And of course...
and hers literally, as you said, when she finishes dancing, it goes, "You're hot."
Oh my God. And can we just talk about her hair the whole movie?
You mean her pigtails?
Goodbye.
It was, not good.
Davey's like, why does no one else have hair like her in the whole movie? At first I was like, maybe this is a popular style. No one else has hair like her the whole movie. She's literally has Scott Pilgrim versus the World hair.
You made Davey watch this with you?
What'd you say?
You made Davey watch this with you?
Oh, yeah, hell yeah. He volunteered. He volunteered. He likes to watch some of these movies with me. If he's available, he'll watch it with me.
That's funny.
Because then he's like, when I listen to the episode, I'll know more about it. I did like, there was a little moment. Jackie Chan randomly has a car in his living room.
Oh, yeah.
And they did have a few moments when you see him and he's like waxing the car and the circular motion, like little nods like that. I liked all the little nods.
Agreed. So their date gets kind of cut short because she gets a call from her father that her audition is actually today, not tomorrow. So her audition is in like 20 minutes and she's almost going to be late, but we cut to the auditions. She does really well, but for some reason her father, and maybe this was in Mandarin subtitles that I didn't see, but her father like bans Dre from her life for some reason.
Yeah, and they don't show it. There's no dialogue. It's like she's speaking with them off like to the side, so there's no actual dialogue before she says to him, "You're bad for my life."
Oh, you're bad from my life. I literally thought she says, "You're banned from my life." And I was like, that is a really weird way to say that. I mean, but regardless, you're bad for my life or you're banned from my life. It was a very harsh statement for her to suddenly make.
Because they're 12, by the way. I don't know if we mentioned this. Jackie,
they're 12.
They're 12.
Yeah.
And Jaden Smith is like small in his frame, so he looks about like 9 or 10 in this movie.
Yes.
So it's kind of jarring. If I felt bad for him a lot of the time when he was having stuff happen, they were too young.
They were definitely too young. So, Mr. Han, we get a scene where Jaden goes to his house and, okay, here's a weird thing that happens. So the audition happens. She says, "You're banned from my life." He, on his way home or wherever, he gets a text message from his mom that says, in all caps, "You need to be home now." And he deletes the message and goes to Mr. Han's house instead.
Yeah.
Where Mr. Han is destroying the car with a sledgehammer. And this is basically the equivalent of the Mr. Miyagi drunk scene talking about his, deceased wife and child. And we learn Mr. Han's family died in a car accident. And so I was watching this scene going, are we meant to understand that every year he spends repairing a car and then smashing it up again with a sledgehammer as like a weird processing thing for the car crash his family died in? Because that's dark.
I wrote the same thing. I was like, does he do this every year? Because that's
what it seems like, yes.
That's a big that's a big issue.
A big issue.
And he should not be in the care of children.
Agreed.
And also this scene, it's so weird.
It's very strange.
Jaden Smith is 12.
Comforting a fully grown drunk adult stranger.
And he is like, in the original movie, it's so different. It's so differently handled. This scene is a perfect example of like less is more.
Yeah.
Like this scene could have had so much more impact if they never sat in the car after he smashed it and had a conversation about it.
Agreed.
Because then they sit in the car together after he smashes it. And Jackie Chan has a heart-to-heart, a drunk heart-to-heart with Jaden Smith, who asks very strange questions, like read the room. He asks questions like, "Oh, so what happened to your family? Hello, there's a newspaper article. You literally could see it. He's smashing a car. He's crying. He's drunk. So what I half expected him to be like, can I meet them?
Yeah.
So dumb. And it was so uncomfortable watching him talk about this stuff the way he was talking about it with Jaden's character. And like he like narrated every little thing that happened. It did not need to be so. It would have had way more impact if they just cut all of that out.
Agreed.
And then the really weird thing.
The super weird thing where Jaden gets out of the car and you see like two little sticks poke into the driver's side with little ropes where he like ropes out Mr. Han's fingers. And they do like a kung fu. It feels like a callback to the shadow puppet thing because it's like they're basically connected by two long sticks. But I was like, what is happening here? Like, what is this rope thing that's like pulling him out by his fingers? It felt so weird because we had never seen that before in the movie.
No, it was the weirdest thing I've ever seen. And I didn't know. I thought something was happening. Like, he gets out of the car, and then the next thing you see is Jackie Chan weeping into his hands drunk, and then these two little weird stick things poking in off camera with ropes on them. Just like hooking onto his fingers. I was like, what the fuck am I watching?
I feel like they must have had a montage scene where they did that in reverse, but it got cut, and so it made a lot less sense in the movie or something.
That was way too significant to cut then, because it was so strange. And then as they're doing this weird, like, crying, like, healing, dance
puppet,
with
kung
sticks
fu scene. Yeah.
His mom shows up at his house for the first time and watches them like, ah.
Okay, and can we talk about the fact that his mom sent him an all caps text message saying, "You need to be home now," and he deletes it? It felt like that was going to be like a big moment of crisis, but it was nothing. So he didn't need to get that text at all. She could have just shown up to like pick him up and seen this happening.
And she was fine because he was dancing in the dark with sticks with Jackie Chan,
who was drunk and weeping, which I would be like, I think you might be spending a little too much time with Mr. Han.
Yeah, because let's not forget, in order to get there, she just walked over broken glass from his living room with the car in it.
Right. Yes. So we get some more training montages. Mei Ying is avoiding him. And then we get to the day before the tournament.
Wait.
What?
Did you... his advice when he gets. Did you get to that part? I'll let you go on. Maybe you'll say it.
I don't remember any advice.
So when they get to the tournament and he gives them the Bruce Lee outfit.
Oh yes, yeah.
Which I thought was strange because was it Bruce Lee's actual outfit? Was it modeled after Bruce Lee? Was this the first time we talked about Bruce Lee the whole movie?
Yes.
Weird.
I think Dre just idolized Bruce Lee, and it was like sort of a nod to that, but agreed. It felt very like, why are we doing this?
It's like Bruce Lee's outfit or whatever it was. But Jackie Chan gives him advice, and this is literally the advice. He's like, in life, sometimes you'll get knocked down, but what's important is that you get back up again. And I was like, is this Chumbawamba? Is that your advice?
Oh, man. Okay, so he goes and speaks to Mei Ying's father, and I guess Jackie Chan has written him some Mandarin, and again, I don't know what he said, but it makes Mei Ying's father allow her to come to the tournament.
Yeah.
So he had previously banned her, but whatever he said convinced him.
It was something like, I've dishonored your family by taking her away from her responsibilities, and I'm so sorry, and I hope that you'll allow me the opportunity to have her in my life because she's great and I've learned so much from her, kind of like. It was like very sweet.
Yeah,
whatever.
So she can come to his tournament. It's the day of the tournament, and unlike the first Karate Kid where the sort of like matchup didn't make sense because unless they both win all the way till the end, they were never going to face each other. This movie, it's like he has to face everyone from the dojo, so it kind of made a little more sense structurally.
I don't think it did. He didn't have to face everyone from the dojo. It was still a bracket.
I guess so, yeah.
Because he could have faced that other kid with the hair that randomly became a main character for 15 minutes.
Thank you, the Mohawk kid who, like, for some reason seemed to have some significance and a signature move, but we've never met him before.
Yeah, they literally... Like, remember last movie, all the other movies, it's all about, the main Karate Kid, quote unquote, and the bad guys. And in this one, randomly, at the tournament, it's so similar in style to the original movie, rather. Looks more updated. He's still going to do the same bracket system, and we know this because there's a random kid in a blue gi, or whatever it's called, since it's kung fu and not karate. And he is not part of anything. We've never seen him before. He's not part of any faction or whatever. And he's just got like this crazy Dragon Ball Z hair.
Yes.
And he is a kung fu master. He gets very, very far. We focus on his fights that involve characters that we also don't know. Where did he come from?
Yeah.
So he could have easily ended up fighting him and never fighting this guy. Again.
Agreed.
Plot hole.
But he does pretty well in all the fights and makes it to, the final round against Chang. Again, great choreography throughout this whole scene. I think.
I agree.
Really good. So, unlike the first movie where the penultimate match, he gets his leg kind of beaten up. This time Cheng injures his leg, and it seems like Dre is going to be disqualified because he's injured. But Mr. Han does his fire healing again, and he decides to fight. Did we get an equivalent to sweep the leg in Mandarin that I missed?
No, he just said no mercy. When he went over and whispered to him, he just said, remember, no mercy. And he looked up at him like, okay, no mercy? And I was like, wait, hi, he's been saying no mercy the whole effing movie.
Whole movie, yeah.
And like you have been there's this moment where all of a sudden people are going to have a change of heart for no reason.
Yes. So they fight, they each score a couple points, and it's like tied, and whoever gets the next one is going to win. And this is when Dre does his snake charming move.
Oh my god.
Which I was just like, I mean, we have that, of course, in the first movie with the crane kick. We have it in the next Karate Kid with the praying mantis thing. So I was like, I got to this point in the movie and I was like, wait a minute, what's the signature move that they're going to do? Because I was like, maybe the two-handed push, because that happens several times in the movie. But no, instead they do the snake charming thing, which just felt very cheesy to me.
So cheesy.
Very cheesy. But it works, and he scores the final point. And like the first movie, Cheng gives him the trophy, but like bows to him and gives him the trophy instead of saying, "You're all right, LaRusso." And then all the other sensei's students bow to Mr. Han, which kind of, I think, embarrasses the other sensei.
Yeah, I think it's insinuating that they're going to be his students now.
That's kind of what it seemed like. But then that's the end of the movie.
Yeah. I was like, you can't poach another guy's students at his match.
No, rude.
It's not right.
I mean, yeah.
Whew.
So we made it.
We made it.
Let me see if I have any trivia for this movie.
I have some trivia, because Davey was like, it's not karate, it's kung fu. And I did read that in China, it was marketed as the Kung Fu Wonder.
Oh, I didn't even think about the title. That's so funny.
Yeah, I read that they only kept it Karate Kid just to keep continuity's sake for the movie here, but they made sure multiple times in the movie to correct anyone who said karate and say it was kung fu.
Interesting. Okay. Huh.
I read that Jackie Chan was the one who came up with the whole jacket thing.
Oh, okay.
He was the one who was like his idea for like how he would train.
All right.
I thought that was kind of
interesting.
fun.
Apparently Jackie Chan, due to his like high regard in China, he was able to get them access to shoot in certain locations for filming. So he kind of seems like he had a pretty big role in the movie. Also, it says there's an alternate version. The Chinese version was re-edited to make Dre seem like the bad guy and make it seem like he started all the fights, which is like, why would you do that? He's the protagonist of the movie.
Yeah. That's
so strange.
What the hell? I mean, that's disturbing to hear.
It's really strange. Yeah. All right. So let me pull up our spreadsheet as you prepare to tell me the ratings of this movie. So what did this get on IMDb?
It got a 6.2.
6.2. Okay. All right.
All right. And then Rotten Tomatoes was pretty even. It was tomato meter was 66%.
Okay.
And the audience meter / popcorn meter was 67%.
Okay. All right. So I'll just note that is significantly improved from the next Karate Kid with Hilary Swank, because that got a 4.5 and had a 7% Rotten Tomato meter compared to 66.
Yeah.
What are you going to rate this movie out of 10? I think I know my score. Do you want me to go first?
Yeah, you go first.
Okay. So I rated the original Karate Kid 8. I rated the next Karate Kid 5. I'm going to give this one a 6.5. I think it's much better than the next Karate Kid. And there are aspects of it that I liked more than the original Karate Kid, but there was some very strange choices. I did not think I liked Jaden Smith. I thought he was charming, so I probably am going to have a higher rating than you.
Wow.
Do you want me to say what you rated the last two?
Yeah, well, I think I have my rating, but I'm curious what my previous ones were.
So the original Karate Kid, you rated a 9, which is very high.
Yes.
And then you rated the next Karate Kid a 3.4, which is pretty low. So what would you say to this one?
I'll give it like a solid... I'll give it an even 6. 6.
An
0.
even 6.
6.0.
Okay. All right.
I found it entertaining. Once the karate stuff, the kung fu started happening, it was so beautiful.
Yes.
Like you said.
Yeah, agreed.
That really moved things along a lot.
Yeah.
And the training was great. I loved all the training scenes.
Yeah.
It was way too long.
It was way too long. Like, it definitely needed a solid 30 minutes cut out of the movie.
Oh.
Would you call this overall a beauty or a beast?
This is hard. Even though I had issues with it, I'll still call it a rebooty.
Okay, all right. I think I'm also going to label it a beauty because I loved the choreography. I thought Jaden was charismatic. So even though it was too long and there was definitely some very weird choices made, I think it stacks up better than the Hilary Swank movie. And I think it's a pretty faithful reboot of the original Karate Kid. So I was like, all right, it felt like they modernized it. They improved the fight choreo. Most of the storyline was pretty one-to-one. So I think it's a new generation of the Karate Kid for a new audience.
I could see, I don't know about all that. I think it's a karate movie for the new audience. I don't think it has the same punch, no pun intended, as the original Karate Kid had for those same fans. I think it's just kind of like, I think it was really miscast, the kid. I think it was miscast a lot, but especially the kids, and especially Jaden Smith, no offense. He was better by the end of the movie, but I think I just got used to him.
Yeah.
And I don't dislike him in general. I just thought he was really, really, maybe too young. I don't know. And
yeah,
I felt
could see that.
Way too long. And I felt like it was just bland, a little bland. I would sooner tell somebody, this is the ironic part, even though I rated this one higher, I would sooner tell somebody to watch the next Karate Kid versus watching this version of the Karate Kid, because the next Karate Kid is so kind of preposterous at times that it borderlines on like Coyote Ugly type of status for me. Like, so ridiculous it's watchable. Whereas this is like a legit movie with like a legit budget and like, you know, a lot of to be taken seriously, to be more serious, and it doesn't hit that for me.
Yeah. Okay. So, that's fair. Well, next week we are going to be coming kind of full circle to a true sort of reboot with Cobra Kai, which I kind of have had on my list of things to watch for a long time. So I'm excited that I finally have like not an excuse, but like a pressing reason to do it.
Yeah, I've heard good things about it always since it first came out.
Yeah,
but I've just never watched it, so I'm totally inspired to watch it now from this, and maybe after watching the first episode, I'll want to watch more. So should we
You said the next one is coming out in 2025? The
next movie. That's when it's slated for, according to like Wikipedia and IMDb and all that stuff.
Okay. All right. Cool. Oh, yeah. 2025. They've got the director. They've got the star. It's got, like you said, Jackie Chan and Ralph Macchio. Ben Wang is the lead. Okay. All right. I wonder where it's going to be set.
Yeah. I guess watching Cobra Kai, maybe if I actually watch more of it on my own afterwards or read about it, will help me contextualize like what is supposed to be going on with Ralph Macchio's character now. And maybe it would give a better idea of what the movie might be about. Because I really don't know what they have him doing these days.
The filming has completed, so it's like done.
Okay.
And I'm imagining... Oh, it was originally set to be released on June 7th, 2024, but was delayed to December 13th, 2024, and then moved to May 30th, 2025. So it sounds like May of next year.
Okay. Well, we got some time there.
So, yeah. Well, join us next week as we go to Cobra Kai. And if you would like to help us grow and enjoy our podcast, the very best thing you could do is rate and review it on whatever platform you are currently using to listen to our episodes.
That's right. And another good way for people to find out about our podcast, probably the best way, is through word of mouth. So tell a friend, post about us on Reddit, 4chan, whatever message boards you are
4chan?
on. Yeah, we're really popular at 4chan.
I hope not.
Me too. Find whatever way you can to spread the word and tell people about us, whoever you want.
That's right. Our social media is RebootyPod on Instagram and Twitter, and you can email us at rebootypod@gmail.com. We love getting email, and we are always in search of suggestions, so please feel free to send us media that you think we should cover.
That's right, and we also have a Patreon where we have a lot of other media. We have a lot of movie reviews that may not have any reboots associated with them, so if you have any ideas for those as well, send them our way. And you could find that Patreon at patreon.com/NandMatt. How many times can I say Patreon?
If you want to support us in a smaller way, you can always buy us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/NandMatt.
Thanks so much for listening to Rebooty and the Beast.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.